This next video will demonstrate the cockpit preparation for the FO side. First, you check the logbook. Then you check the circuit breaker panels on the aircraft. Per the FOM, the cockpit preparation still continues the items that were accomplished on the safety check, just to verify the correct position. The next step on the checklist is to turn the battery switch on. Next check would be to check to see if you have external power. For this demonstration, I will pretend like we have no external power and we're only using the battery switch. The next step was come to the APU, which is located here. When you test the APU with only battery power, you will get 7 lights. It'll be a 3, 1, 3 indication. No bells, no whistles. This demonstration is farther out so you can see all. As we talked about, 3 fire T-handles, 1 APU fire T-handle, and 3 engine switches. The next, you would go and select the external power.
Autopilot.
With the external power, you will get all the other indications.
Engine 1 fire.
Oral,
Engine 2
you have the bells, master caution,
Engine
master
3
warning.
fire.
You press the master
Engine 1 fire.
warning button to silence the bell and verify that you still have all the other indications. For this demonstration, I am not going to turn on the APU. Next, after the APU, verify emergency power is on. Over here we have an annunciator light test.
Overspeed.
We run the annunciator light test. For the most part, all the cockpit lights, all the indications should show up except for these one and the ident switch.
Overspeed.
Holding the switch approximately 8 to 12 seconds will have it run the manifold air system test.
Overspeed.
By selecting the air page on the EAD source, you can verify that the air system is testing. For practical purposes, the external power is located on the top, and now I have started the APU from the electrical panel. If you start the APU from the electrical panel, it will automatically come online when the APU is producing adequate pressure. You can also start the APU from the APU panel. If you start the APU from the APU panel, you must select the electric switch to obtain APU power. After running the annunciator light test, you move to turn on the IRUs. The first IRU that is turned on will automatically deploy the cargo failure and fire test. If the automatic test does not go, there is an automatic cargo fail test. By pressing it for 5 to 8 seconds, you can get that test to go off. After initializing the IRUs, between the captain and the first officer will verify that the coordinates are correct. You will enter that into the MCDUs. Proceeding with the first officer's cockpit preparation, the next is the voice recorder. It has 4 channels. There are 2 ways to test this. Pressing the green button and visually verifying 4 bleeps, or sticking your headset in pressing the same button and verifying that there's 4 channels. The next step is to verify that the gust bus fault resets and galley buses are safety and secured. This is a sim. We do not have galley buses on the aircraft. Next we test is the cargo temp, normally set at high and 12 o'clock. Next position is verify that the ignition switch is off. Next for the first officer is the hydraulic pressure test. With this test, we always have to verify with maintenance that the area is clear. Once they give you the clear, the test consists of pressing the test button. If you have not already armed the emergency power, verify that the battery charging is not illuminated, and then select arm. Electrical switches, and then we have the cockpit air. The APU is running, so now we can select APU air, which will supply pneumatic and starting power for the engines. After that function, we come down the emergency power. We arm the emergency power and we press test. We hold the test until emergency lights test pass illuminates on the EAD. The IRUs take approximately 10 minutes to align. After turn on the seatbelt no smoking sign, verify that the lights are in the correct position, moving up, and next would be the GPWS. The aircraft has to be aligned to run this test. Next, come down to the LSAS, which is a 2-1-2-1 system, followed by the cabin pressure control. Normally, we would select defog on and fuel to reset for the first flight of the day. The IRUs are aligned. Now, pressing the same switch as we showed on the overhead. Pressing it down, you will get the
Lights
oral
low.
alerts.
Pull up. Terrain.
Also on your
Pull up.
display unit,
Sync rate.
if you have terrain up, which is
Pull
required,
up.
you'll have the checkerboard so you can see that it's testing
Pull up.
properly.
Don't sink. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Gear.
The next step is
Too
to
low.
come and set
Flaps.
your
Too low. Terrain.
barometer
Lights
and
slow.
your minimum barrel to
Bank
reset
angle.
RA
Bank angle.
200 and
Minimums.
QNH or
Too low. Terrain.
which is the
Caution.
hectopascals.
Terrain.
Next, we would come
Terrain.
over and our setup is
Terrain.
traffic
Terrain.
data
Pull
and have
up.
both of our VORs
Caution.
up.
Obstacle.
That's displayed here.
Caution.
Traffic
Obstacle.
data and the 2
Obstacle.
VORs.
Obstacle.
You can also have NDBs
Pull
up
up.
if you choose to. Companies normally like to see VORs to start. Next, by pressing the config page here, boom, come down. I know it's hard to see. This side is the oxygen. We have line pressure must be above the white arc. To test this, turn the speaker up slightly by pressing the red button and the test. You'll hear oxygen. If the aircraft has been RON'd or overnighted, it is company procedure to turn off the oxygen bottle. If you run the oxygen approximately 6 to 7 seconds, verify that they have turned on the oxygen. After that, we come around, we check our SIS panel and that the static gear is in normal. Moving across the MD panels to the gear indication, we have the config page up. 4 red, verified by 4 red. Push it back in, 4 red, 4 green by 4 green. Setting the standby altimeter and attitude indicator. Verifying that the auto brakes are in the off position and that the overboost bar is in the locked position. The next, we will be testing the takeoff warning system. Takeoff warning system, take the number 1 throttle, move it forward.
Stabilizer. Left. Left.
You'll hear 3, stabilizer, flap, slats. Abnormality is brakes. If the brakes are set, it'll say brakes. It'll be normal that it's an abnormality. With the number 2 and 3, you push up the 2 and 3 together because 3 has no indication. So you push 2 to 3 with it.
Stabilizer.
Once you have the indications, you're good. My next technique is to do a mini walk around from what you've done earlier. So status, config, fuel, air, electric, hydraulic. After you've done that and verify, hydraulic, our company minimum is 6,000. We'd like to dispatch with more. Next we come to the radar. By selecting the weather bright push on and off, we switch from from terrain to weather, and we test the system. We turn the tilt up 10 degrees and press the and turn to test. With that, we should get the indication on the screen. You have to test both radars, number 1 and number 2, for the entire test pattern. Once that is complete, press TCAS on the FCP, and we're going to test the TCAS. IOU has to be aligned for TCAS, weather, and GPS to test.
TCAS test pass.
After the TCAS, we move down to the rudder and aileron trims. After that, we verify that the ADG is locked. And that completes the first officer's cockpit preparation checklist.